Hey folks, how's it going? Can you hear me? You should hopefully be able to hear me. Oh, that browser box is a little off there. Push that in. Uh, so thanks for tuning in today for the very first episode of JoJo's Jabber. Now I just want to give a quick explanation of JoJo's Jabber, what it's about and how we'll be moving forward in future before we get started with the episode itself. So I just want to go ahead and say that this is a pseudo stream or pseudo stream podcast, if you want to think about it like that. So we'll be approaching things in a lot of similar ways to a podcast, but we'll be adding a few bits to spice it up. So first and foremost is that it is live. We are obviously live, and with it being live, that means there'll be interactions with chat. We'll be watching chat. If you guys have any questions about, things on topic with what we're talking about or closely related or otherwise interesting, we might go ahead and comment on that, give our thoughts on them, whoever I have on the couch anyway. Also, if we're explaining some sort of difficult topic, there'll be a few visual aids on stream. Like, let's say we're talking about tier lists, we'll have the tier list up on stream. How do you time stop? If you look on the wiki, you'll find the input for time stop. Yes, so JoJo's Jabber is all about bringing in as many different voices as we can to give out as many different interesting opinions and voices from as many individuals as we can. Meaning that we will take anybody who's interested onto the show as long as they have a relevant topic they want to talk about and they're not going to be censored. Meaning they can talk about whatever they want, well, assuming it doesn't get me banned off Twitch or whatever, right? So if you want to come in here and shit talk the hosts or whatever, I don't care as long as you have a point to it. So even if you're from Texas server or whatever and you're interested in getting on here, go ahead, PM me. Because at its core, this stream is going to be very casual. We're going to be very relaxed, and it's going to be all about bringing the information to you guys. So if you want, you can tab out. Just listen in the background. Listen, let our voices soothe you. Follow along. Once again, this is hopefully going to be weekly. The times will probably change, the time of day, because this is a very unfortunate time of day for the Americas. So hopefully we'll be taking a Saturday slot, but I'll be talking more about that at the end of the stream. Just to mention, if you want to catch this again or you can't catch it live, VODs will be going up on YouTube. So I think that about covers everything I want to say about the JoJo's Jabber. And we'll be moving into the episode proper now. And I'll be introducing the couch. Hey fellas.
Hello.
Hello.
So what's going on here, guys? Are you ready to begin talking about new players? That is the topic for today.
New
I'm
players.
always up for JoJo talk.
Yep, so on the couch here we have Mineotar
Hello.
and Simon Marriage.
Hello.
Now unfortunately we were meant to have Eredal, but there was a bit of a problem with the time zones, let's just say. And he can't make it, unfortunately, but he may be able to make it near the end. We'll have to see. But we can proceed as is with just us. So yeah, a lot of the things we're going to be talking about here in new players would be very broad strokes, right? Because a lot of these topics are so complicated that you could pretty much do episodes on their own about them. But we're going to be trying to skim over things and give out as much valid and useful information as we can in the quickest manner possible.
Yeah, we don't want to info dump people with this.
Yes,
This is not
exactly.
what this is for.
Yes, exactly. So, want to just go ahead and say that if you do happen to be a new player, either watching this live or, seeing this through a VOD, don't sweat about anything we say too much. We are saying this for your sake, mostly. And if you ever have trouble understanding this or anything like that, you can always go to other people, like in the server or on Fightcade, and ask them about different points or whatever. Because really, at the end of the day, everyone is very, very friendly in the community here, and they're willing to help you out if you are showing interest in the game. So just don't be shy and speak up. All right, guys.
All
What
right.
do we want to talk about first?
Well, we have a bunch of points. I feel like we should probably start from the bottom for new players. A lot of questions that people pose are related to Fightcade, not the game itself. They don't know how to do things. They don't know how things work, and so they just come in and have no idea what they're doing, and sometimes even end up wasting people's time because they don't understand how to set it up properly, how to play the game. Maybe they can't play properly because they can't connect to anyone. They don't know how to solve that, and so I think we should start with that. So some general information, some general tips that may be useful for people who have never used Fightcade before.
Okay, yeah. So it's worth mentioning that pretty much the entire JoJo's scene, at least in the West over here, is centralized on Fightcade. So if you want to play this game and you want to play it at a higher level than just button mashing with your friends, it's going to be on Fightcade. So yeah, I agree. It is pretty important that you understand what goes into Fightcade and how to get yourself set up and prepared. So I guess the first and most obvious thing is that you grab Fightcade off fightcade.com. You go through all the regular steps of installing it, unzipping it, running it, all that sort of stuff. Lots of guides out there for that.
Yeah, there's lots of tutorials. American made one. He's making new versions of it. That should be pretty helpful. He pretty much mentions almost everything that's important.
His tutorial is very, very good. It basically gives a condensed version of everything we're going to be talking about in this Fightcade section. It's if you need a quick look at it with just the most relevant information, I'd recommend looking at American's guide. I'll get a link going to that on stream now. But as Simon, could you talk us through what sort of features you should expect to have when you use Fightcade?
Yeah. So the first thing that people don't understand, the interface is not complicated at all. All you have to look at is if, first of all, to see if the game is actually properly installed and can properly launch. Is the name of the lobby is going to be white. It's the first thing. And it's really useful to go into settings to simply hide every room that has a game that you don't have right now, whose ROM you don't have. Also, very important, if your game for some reason doesn't want to run, which is related to this, you don't want to ask people in the chat or anywhere really oh, where can I get functioning ROM? Where can I get this? Where can I get that? It's actually, I think, against the Discord's rules. We're going to talk about that later. All I have to say about that is just Google.com. You can just find functioning ROMs without problems. It's not if the one that you have doesn't work, it's probably because you unzipped it, and that's the first mistake that a lot of people make. Even if it's explicitly said in the instructions in any video that you're watching, some people just end up unzipping them or changing the name mistakenly. Maybe they download it twice and in the same folder, and the PC changes the name to JoJo Ban open bracket 1 close bracket, and so that doesn't work. So you need to be careful about that. Then all you have to do to challenge people is just click under to the icon next to their name. If you click on an icon and it's not it doesn't challenge them, then they're AFK. It's really easy to just see what people are AFK because they're at the bottom of the list. The people whose names are paired, they're in a match, and if you click on the icon, you're gonna spectate. That's how it works. You can also just type down /challenge /spectate and then the name or person and challenge them or spectate. It's really not hard at all. Once you get the hang of it, it's actually really, really easy. And if you don't want to be challenged, just click on the await checkbox. That's all you have to do. To not be challenged, people won't be able to. You can also ignore people that are annoying. Maybe they're pinging you in the Fightcade chat constantly.
Maybe
all you have to
certain
do
Moroccan players.
Yeah, there was someone named like that. Something like Stoned Idiot or Stoned Llama or something like that. I don't remember. But yeah, just make sure that the people who keep on talking smack for no reason and then and they're annoying in general, you can just ignore them.
Okay, Mineotar, I know you like to express your grievances with Fightcade quite often. So could you tell us a bit about when it doesn't quite work properly and why?
Yes, well, before that, I would like to address the two questions posted to me in chat. First, showed that has nothing to do with what is currently happening on stream. Please leave your questions for the after hours. And second, Chuck, I'm going to answer that question a lot later than right now. So, okay then. Well, as far as Fightcade goes, you see, Fightcade is a very strange creature of creation, you understand? Because sometimes it works naturally, and it's, of course, the best thing we have right now over here in the West, unless someone happens to get a plane ticket to Japan. But you see, Fightcade likes to have this thing, right? Despite its connections being pretty good and its system being pretty good for what we have, you see. Fightcade has this habit of lagging, you see. It has killed many people in the past. And by many people, I mean someone who goes by the name of, starts with S, ends with Oi. So you see, despite the many positive things Fightcade brings us, it also has brought me much pain in the past, and it'll bring everyone else here too, if they haven't already felt it for the past 1,000 hours.
Yeah, I gotta say, Fightcade, it's really a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways because Fightcade uses rollback netcode, which originates from GGPO. And see, the idea of rollback netcode is that, to put it simply, it's just a lot more efficient than the usual delay netcode because it's quite a bit more advanced in a lot of ways, and it's a complicated topic, but just know that it makes executing combos much easier compared
more
to...
than executing combos, I'd say that the thing that's affected the most by the whether the netcode is rollback based or delay based is the player interactions, because if there's rollback but the delay is fine, you're probably going to be fine even if you start dropping your combos because you can't confirm. But normally it's really easy. You don't have a problem. But when there's high delay, even if you react, even if there's no rollback, even if you react, because of the extra input delay, you're not going to be able to do anything. You feel like you're not in control of your character. So at their best, both netcodes are fine, but at their worst, delay is much, much, much worse. And doesn't help that it seems like the delay-based netcodes are still stuck in like 2010s technology or something like that, because they really haven't improved at all. And
Yeah.
so you'd much rather have like a couple of rollback frames instead of a couple, or like 2 or 3 rollback frames instead of 2 or 3 extra input delay frames, because that messes with your reactions. It forces you to play with the lag, and that's harder to account for.
Yeah. Potato Boy mentioned something interesting there in chat as well. Said that the servers have been having breakdowns, mental breakdowns as well, with the increase in player base, which does make a lot of sense, because Fightcade was originally designed for, from what I recall, just between friends, and then it was open to the public. So it's really gone above and beyond what it was originally designed for. Fightcade, it does do a reasonable job. If both players have good connections, you can get a reasonable cross-continent match going. But more often, for a reliable and stable game, you want to stick within your continent. There are exceptions, of course, but usually you want to stick within your continent, or even your own country if your internet is just that poor.
Or if you're on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, if you're on Wi-Fi as well. Sometimes, unfortunately, you're at the mercy of your opponent and what they chose to, how they chose to connect to the internet. So sometimes it feels like they're sitting right next to you, and sometimes it feels like they're on the moon.
No, they're not on the moon. Their router is on the moon. They're on Jupiter.
Yeah, yeah. They're stealing their neighbor's Wi-Fi.
Or maybe they're in a dorm and they don't give a shit about the well-being and the sanity of other players, and so they play anyway.
Yeah. Please don't play on Wi-Fi.
It's also worth mentioning that people will say that it's not needed to open ports, which I'm not going to get into because it's a complicated subject. It depends on what your router is and how its settings work and everything. And more importantly, how many devices can hook up to your connection and how much control you have over the connection. But I found out through sheer chance that on one connection, same everything, I could not connect to almost anybody. But I opened the ports and I was able to connect to everybody. On another connection, without ports open, everything was fine. It really just has to do with your what in other circumstances would be called NAT, your connectivity to other players, and how your router or your PC is blocking traffic through certain ports. And opening those ports makes it so the traffic is unrestrained. That your PC nor the router is going to mess with it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so if you can't connect with anybody, if you can't connect with anybody, you should try opening them, and you can easily just find what numbers of ports you have to open. And unfortunately, for some people, that's not possible because they have no control of their connection or other reasons, and so that sucks. But if you for some reason the game keeps on loading forever, you see yourself and your opponent in the list of players that are in a match, but nothing happens, that's probably because of ports. That's probably what's going on. And after that, the game will actually, not the game, Fightcade will actually tell you in a message that you should open your ports because it's having connectivity problems. That's what that's about. So you open your ports usually solves that. Sometimes it doesn't. But you should look into that if you simply cannot connect to people. If you can connect, then there's no problem. It shouldn't be something that you need to do at all.
Yeah, exactly, Simon. So sometimes it is just a matter of playing around with your settings, your internet settings. Oh yeah, and one more point I want to make about Fightcade before we move on from it is that it's not currently being supported by its devs, and there's basically never been any sort of moderation over Fightcade chats or whatever. So be careful about what kind of links you click in there sometimes. You know, usually most people are polite, but alright, Melvin, listen, right? An Ethernet connection, you buy a cable, you plug it into your computer, and you plug it into your router. It's that simple, right?
Some people live on the other side of the house compared to the router, but even that can be easily solved. You can just look up TP-Link Powerline net connectors. They drop your download speed by a little bit, but they allow you to simply plug in one end of the receiver in one outlet and plug the Ethernet cable in it, then plug the other one close to your PC and the Ethernet cable in it, and then set an Ethernet cable into your PC. It's easy as that. I've been using that for years, and it hasn't given me any problems. They're like 15 euros, or I guess $20 a piece.
Yeah, exactly.
They're worth it. They're absolutely worth it. They work unless, I don't know, your power is running through pasta or something like me.
Look, Melvin, if you say it requires money, just think, if you can afford to pay for internet, or more likely your parents, they can also afford to buy a cable or a power line setup. They're not expensive at all. It's just, at this point, it's a choice to have lackluster internet. Anyway, we don't want to get stuck on internet and Fightcade for too long, because we would never stop. There's too much to talk about. So, might touch a little bit on the game itself now. So if you're here, if you're listening in, you're probably, either you've touched the game a little, or you've seen gameplay of it, and maybe you're not entirely sure how it works. And guess what? You might not even fully understand it until you've played it yourself and you've tricked around with the different things, especially if you're new to fighting games. If, say, you've only played Super Smash Bros. In the past and you want to get into JoJo's, it may seem like a steep learning curve at first, because a lot of the traditional elements from 2D fighting games are present here. Maybe not always in the way you might expect, but you'll usually see a lot of familiar stuff compared to other games. And if you haven't seen them before, you might not be used to them. So, just want to say that I might even get a little bit of the game running in the background here as we talk about it. But yeah, so there are 22 characters in this game.
By the way, before we start that, people are saying that I'm really loud. I'm sorry about that. I try not to yell, but Pio, maybe you could turn me down a little bit.
Simon down a small bit. There,
I have a habit of raising my voice.
He's not allowed to yell as much now. Sorry, Simon. Yeah, there's about 22 characters, if memory serves, and they're all divided up into basically 3 categories is the best way to think about it, depending on their playstyle, what moves they have available to them. So you can have sorry, I don't want that playing on stream. We can have active stand users, passive stand users, weapon stand users. These are the 3 broad categories. They each have their own strengths and weaknesses, but usually the the active stand users have their fair share of strengths. So I'll get an example of one up on the stream there. Okay. Sorry,
Yes, more
my
on that.
my
More on that
stick might
about
be a little
how.
loud, but
More on that. Uh, on the note of characters. Sorry, of the game mechanics being weird. This game actually has very very specific rules about many things that just aren't common in other fighting games. If this isn't your first fighting game, you'll find that quite. How can I say this? You may not like it at the beginning, but the game's mechanics are good enough that you can. The skill ceiling is relatively high. They sound weird at the beginning for a lot of people, but they really work out in you. You just need to get used to them.
yeah,
For example, the
exactly.
game has very specific rules when it comes to what can be blocked in the air and what cannot be blocked in the air, how turning your stand on and off works. That can be a little confusing, but it's really
So
not.
yeah, active stand users and weapon stand users. So for example, Jotaro and Dio are two active stand users. They can turn their stands on and off, and by turning your stands on, you get access to new moves, be that different special moves compared to what you have in standoff, or different normal moves as well. And there's usually a risk reward between turning your stand on and off. So in a very general case, this doesn't always apply. You get a bit more of a defensive ability when you turn your stand on, maybe slightly better moves, and but it lowers your mobility and combo routes. So if you're looking to play offensively, you might want to play standoff because you can just get around the screen much easier. But if you're feeling pressured, you might want to turn your stand on. That's a very general case.
Yes, a lot of characters get stronger. They take less damage when you turn a stand on, and most importantly, when you have your stand on, you don't take chip damage. So if
And
the
you get a
opponent is
double
just
jump as well.
yes, you get a double jump. Different characters have different properties when they change would turn stand on and stand off. Some characters get air dashes. Some characters move faster. Some characters move slower. It really depends on the character. So it's not really
Yeah,
general, but in broad strokes, really, turning a stand on makes you slightly stronger, and turning a stand off makes you smaller and more nimble, though.
yeah. So yeah, the double jump Orctics, it's definitely strong. A double jump is definitely strong. You can mix up your opponent with it. There are characters in other fighting games that are basically they base their entire plans around mixing up with double jumps and stuff. But
Yeah,
it
and
does,
also something that
yeah,
Potato Boat mentioned, you when you stand off, you can roll. When you stand on, you cannot. So it's
yeah,
very important thing to mention because rolling is situationally good. Some characters don't care. In some matchups, you can roll for free. In others, you almost cannot roll at all. Otherwise, you get thrown. And that's bad.
yeah,
The way it works is that from frame one, as soon as you input all three attacks, you have iframes. You cannot be hit, but you can be thrown. Uh, so it's something that you need to consider carefully when to roll and when to not. You can't just spam roll and expect to get away with it against someone even half decent.
exactly, yeah. There's a lot of managing uh, different strategies, different ways of approaching your opponent, and adapting to their moves. You really have to think things through. Uh, so we might talk a small bit about weapon stand users. Or sorry, I should mention that the main draw of active stand users is their tandem. So it lets you can think of it as almost programming moves into your stand. It takes a bar of meter. You can tell it what moves to press. They go forward and they do the attacks you told them to. And then at the same time, you can control your character separately. So it lets you can think of it as combo extension and extra damage. It really does do a lot of things. And as you
Mhm.
get more experience in the game, you'll realize more and more how powerful tandem is. Weapon stand users have something similar to tandem, but it's not exactly the same. If I can find what I bound him to. Might just restart. So examples of weapon stand user. Well, there's only 3 in the game actually. There's Chaka, there's Old Joseph, and then there's Alessi. And so they're at first glance they're very similar to active stand users. You can turn their stand on and off. They gain different moves, all sorts of stuff like that. They don't gain a double jump though. And when you do the input for a tandem with them, they basically turn into something like a custom combo if you've ever played a Street Fighter game. So they run very fast, and their moves are much easier to combo into each other. So it's not quite as potent as, say, a tandem, but it's still very useful in its own right.
Yeah, they can basically chain them into each other, and it's also important to mention that you cannot block while you're doing that. You're forced to move forward, and your moves, if you press things properly, your moves will just come into each other naturally. Sometimes you'll need to do specific things. Each of these 3 characters have the things that they do, but I think we should really just be focusing on doing this in much broader strokes.
Yes, exactly.
A group potato. Yeah, you're immune to grabs though. Yes, you cannot be thrown.
Yeah, there's all sorts of different properties associated with it. And then there's passive stand users as well. Oh yeah, and if you have trouble understanding the idea of not being able to block, there's a system in JoJo's that you need to use your stand to block. You need to use your stand to do a lot of things in JoJo's, and one of them is blocking. So if for example you're Dio and you've done a stand attack, you've left your stand out, you can't block because you don't have your stand available to you. So you can almost think of passive of weapon stand users like custom combo as that, like they're using their charge or however you want to see it. The last category is passive stand users. So I'd say the most famous examples would be Shadow Dio and Pet Shop here. So what's important to note about passive stand users is they don't have an equivalent for be that tandem or custom combo. Instead, they gain access to a few different moves on the S button. Instead, it becomes basically another button for them to use. So you have to sometimes
pretty much a special move. Sometimes it's closer to a normal, but you can cancel into it like a special move.
Yeah, exactly. It's also worth noting that as a general mechanic, if you turn your stand on as an active or a weapon stand user, you avoid chip damage. But unfortunately, passive stand users have no way of avoiding chip damage, so it leads to them having much lower defensive capabilities, which is why a lot of passive stand users are low or mid tier at best.
Yeah, on top of that, they just lack an entire tool that other characters have, because getting a special move that you could just have be on a different command than the ones that you have is really sucks, rather than not having a stand, not having a tandem, or even a custom combo.
It really felt like Capcom had run out of time and they had to shoo it in. But yeah, that's a very, very broad look at the mechanics of JoJo's. I don't want to get too far in depth with the examples because we could be here all day. Are there any other obvious stand crash you can mention actually.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Stand crashes, the stand crashing, and maybe push blocking. Those are like the other two very basic things that we could say.
Yes, yes. So stand crash. If you noticed when I was using Jotaro or Alessi, they had little bars underneath their health. That's what's called their stand meter. So in return for them not taking chip damage when they turn on their stand, or decreased damage if they're hit just without them blocking, it damages their stand meter. They can recharge the stand meter by turning off their stand, and it will just fill up on its own. But if they leave their stand on, it's going to get chipped away. And when it breaks, it puts them in what you could consider it a stun state, which basically opens them up for a free combo. Usually it's very doable to avoid being stand crashed if you're mindful of your stand meter.
Yeah,
But,
pretty much. Most of the time you can just, if the opponent leaves small gaps in their pressure while they're trying to stand crash you can just spam S while you're trying to block and you turn your stand off. It's not that hard. You just need to be careful if the opponent puts you in a situation where it's really hard to do that. So turn your stand off preemptively if you know that you're probably gonna get stand crash, because they've gotten a lot of the times. All you have to do is press that button once you have any breathing room. Breathing room.
And then once you press that button, you want to get them off you, which is where push block comes into play. So if you press all three of your punch buttons, same motion as the roll, you do a push block. It forms a little blue shield around you, and it basically just pushes your opponent away, and you suffer slightly less hit stun. Or block stun, sorry, the very correct term. That's your main tool for getting people off you, and it can really negate a lot of characters' game plans when you can just throw their pressure off as easily as that. Once you've mastered the push block, it's much more difficult for aggressive characters, like say Khan, to get in there. But
it's a really important mechanic in the game, and at the beginning you won't know what to do with it, but as you start noticing how things behave after you push block them, you'll understand how crucial it is to push block specific things and maybe to not push block others. Even how more important it is to not spam push block, because if you're in stand off, all will happen is that you'll roll, and that opens you up a lot.
That'll be embarrassing.
Because, it's the same command, so spamming it just won't do it. Well, if you're in stand on, you'll probably get out a light attack because of how the game treats your inputs. If you press all three attacks, when you stand on, a light attack will come out, and that's not good either.
Yeah, and if you accidentally roll, you're liable to get grabbed. So grabs in this game, they're a little strange compared to modern conventions, right?
First of all, they're one button grabs. They're not command. You don't have to press two buttons. You only press one plus a direction, and there's no whiff animation like Street Fighter. Where if you do a throw in those games, you'll see the character whiff a grab animation and then they recover. In this game, you'll just do an attack.
Yeah, this is sort of closer to like Street Fighter 2 grabs than other.
They're incredibly similar. Because they're incredibly similar to Street Fighter 2 throws, because they're really fast. They're one frame startup, and unlike in that game, it's not luck whether you tech or not, because you can break a throw. It's just that it's really tight. It's 2 frames. You have exactly 2/60ths of a second to input a throw at the same while your opponent is trying to throw you, and to negate it. Unlike other more modern fighting games where it's sort of easy because they made the window bigger.
Yeah, it's really chances are when you're new, you're gonna meet someone online that will grab you and keep throwing you into the corner, and you'll lose a game like that because until you've really gotten a feel down for think of it as the tells for when people want to go for throws. It's you just can't do it on reaction. You you basically have to get the read and know that they're coming in, they want to throw you. So in your own right, you prefer your defense and you tech the grab. You tech the grab by just doing your own grab. If you do the motion for a grab, it techs a grab. If you're within those 2 frames that you can tech. An advanced defensive option will be guard cancel, which lets you cancel your block stun into an attack, but it's a pretty complicated technique. All I'll say is that you do a dragon punch motion while you're in block stun and an attack, and you'll do your guard cancel. A lot of characters have mediocre or passable guard cancels, so most of the time you have to be careful how you use them, because at higher level plays of JoJo's, they can be baited out and you can be punished for trying to guard cancel. But it's definitely a powerful technique, but leave it for when you're a bit more experienced in the game.
Yeah. It's also really, really important to mention, not every character will be able to use their guard cancel effectively because some guard cancels just suck. They have some amount of invulnerability after you do them to allow the attack properly hit, even if the opponent is still trying to attack you. But some are just really small or really slow, and they just end up not working, or even punishable. If you do them, you can be punished. The opponent can hit you for even trying to go for them. So be mindful of that. All you need to know to see if your character has a good guard cancel. We'll be sending the resources that we'll talk about later. It's not a problem. You don't have to think about guard canceling very much, because it comes into play at a higher level, but it's still very useful.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So that's your very basic, brief guides to JoJo's and its game mechanics. There's a lot of stuff we didn't even touch on, but if you just want to get in there and start pressing buttons, that should be the basics of what you need to know. Once again, if you want to get a bit more in depth, check out American Blues' guide that I still have on screen there, and just have a watch of that video, because it's honestly excellent. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else we really need to touch on in the mechanics section.
Yeah.
We can talk a bit more about actually playing the game now. Like, let's say you say, yes, I do want to try out JoJo's, but you go to the character select screen and you're like, what's going on here? Who am I picking? You know? So there's 22 characters in total, with 6 secret characters off the side of the screens. You'll notice if you have them unlocked, which Fightcade does by default, and if you don't know how to unlock them, there's guides on doing so, either on the Discord or probably in Kamerican's video as well, where they're just off screen and you'll have an arrow there pointing off, and you can just go left or right off screen and choose them. Their character portraits pop up. So, but all the same, you still need to know who you want to pick. So it's important that you pick a character that you think you will enjoy. So quite often there's a definite set of recommended new player characters. New player characters that they'll help you learn the game. They'll help you get started. They'll give you the most bang for your buck. But if you don't enjoy them, you won't enjoy the game. But on the flip side, if you pick a super hard character like Dio, you have to realize that you need to be in it for the long run if you want to be getting some of the maximum enjoyment you can out of the game.
I think Mineotar knows very well how it ends up feeling after a while if you, on the other hand, stick to the easier characters and keep on playing them. right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Well, of course, Potato Boy, you can have fun playing any character, but as you want to get more in depth with the game, you'll feel held back, and that you have to work much harder than maybe other people do.
Yeah, I can attest to that one.
Yeah, how's that DOB&B coming?
Yeah, that DOBMB is pretty good. I got it like 2 or 3 times when I was still on analog, and it was the best thing ever. So then I quit.
great. What about that B-pole experience though? That helped you a lot, right?
The Beeple experience. Well, I can mention that my first character was indeed Dio, and back in the day, I was giving a lot of people a run for their money with the classic 2A2A236C. You know,
Mm-hmm.
at the time, I thought it was amazing, and it still kept working even later on. But
Cool combo,
eventually, I
bro.
realized, yeah, this character does not function so well unless you know how to do the combos properly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So
So
I've
when you're looking at the character selection, I'd say it's really important that you first of all, I think you should look at someone that to you looks cool, and then simply try to understand what type of character they are. Don't just go in blindly. Uh, and most of the time, you won't really understand anything unless you look at the wiki or ask people. So that's the first thing. Most people will tell you just play an easier character, but it's really important that uh, you find someone that you enjoy playing, and that can be really really hard.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're going around on the screen and you like, say, the character design, you like how they, let's say you even watch the show and you like the character from the show, well, maybe go ahead, open them up, have a look at them in game, and see if you still, sorry,
Oh, all right. Well, I want to pick up back from that. See if you still like them. I guess what I was trying to say was because many times you look at a character and then suddenly you see how they move, maybe what their commands are, what their type of style of play is, and you don't really connect with them. So the best advice is to simply just fiddle around with everyone, see who actually, if you've played other fighting games, you'll probably be able to understand very quickly what type of characters some are, even which are stronger, which aren't, and maybe which are more difficult. But it really doesn't matter at the beginning, because the most important thing is getting used to the game, how the game plays, rather than on the character specifically. And for that, there are some characters that are much easier to play, or that will let you experience almost everything that game has to offer when it comes to mechanics and everything. So you'll be using, you'll be learning a lot, and it may feel daunting. So for that, easier characters are fun, but you really don't want to get stuck on them, even if they're fun, even if they're cool and everything. So uh, just trying to find someone that you like using should be enough at the beginning.
yeah, sorry, something unexpected came up there. But to add on to that, yeah, just say open up training mode. We'll be talking a bit about training mode later. Press their buttons, see how things look to you, what you think of them, and maybe once you've gotten an idea on a few different characters, you've played a few games on them, look a bit more into resources on them, see how they line up like with your expected top level play. I might even link a YouTube playlist of JoJo's gameplay here, so you just get an idea of where you hope your character lands up being, what you can expect out of them, the kind of mileage you can get, and how fun they are. Because at the end of the day, it's about having fun.
Yeah, even if you don't know who to pick, and then you can simply just look at the matches, and then somebody will click at some point. There's enough character variety. Somebody will you'll see really good players play them, and you'll be like, wow, that character looks really good. I want to learn how to play them. Maybe you'll regret the decision, but maybe you won't.
Yeah, it's worth noting that a few people they didn't even properly realize what characters they best enjoyed until they were a bit more experienced in the game. Like I think a obvious example was Guru. If anyone knows Guru, he's known for his Boingo, but he originally started off the game playing Hall Horse, and from there he transitioned to Boingo, which is where he made his name. So really, just pick who you want. You can make it work. You definitely can.
Yeah. On that note, I think the next logical step is to talk to people who really have never played any fighting game. They're playing this because it's JoJo's, maybe because it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and they saw the game and they thought it would be fun to try it. I'd say on that topic, I'd start off saying that most importantly, this isn't an easy game by any means.
Yeah, it's a very strange game. So some characters are definitely infamous for their execution skill. Someone like say Devo. Devo is he's the poster boy. He's the you'll break your fingers trying to play him character. And then there's others that are very simple to play, like say Khan or Young Joseph. But the neutral game is also very, very strange. At first, it feels like there isn't one, and then as you get more experience and move further into the game, you'll get a grip, a handle on it. So that's jarring enough for people who have, already played fighting games. But if you're completely, you're fresh, you got a lot of learning to do. So there's a few.
The first step. Yeah, no.
Yeah, there's like a few general pointers you should just pick up for fighting games. So you'll pick them up as you go if you only play JoJo's. If you also play like another game on the side, like I don't know, Unist is a popular one at the minute, or Street Fighter 5, you'll get a few more general fighting game skills. Lots of stuff like reading your opponent, how to learn combos, how to learn characters, taking into account frame data, which is
taking into account fighting game mechanics in general.
Yeah,
because they can like playing a fighting game for the beginning is like not intuitive in any way whatsoever.
Being able to adapt.
The control scheme.
Yeah. So like I myself, before I started on JoJo's, I played Third Strike, I played Marvel 3, and I'm not sure if I played Skullgirls by that point, but all those games, while I have fun in them, it was mostly something that I did to play with my friends, so I was very capped in skill. And then as I was introduced to JoJo's and I further developed my skill in JoJo's, I realized how much fun and how enjoyable fighting games could be, and the limitless potential you could get out of them. So it was really the catalyst for me to step up and put my 100% in, which basically catapulted me out of being a noob in the fighting game scene and what to expect. Like there's all sorts of stuff I didn't quite grasp back then, like stuff like I don't know, like learning motions. Like I could do quarter circles, I could do dragon punches, but I was nowhere near as consistent as I am now today. Like I still thought the dragon punch was a mythical pro technique,
Yeah.
I was also very, very, I'm gonna be nice to myself and say sporadic with how I played. I had no patience, And after
Oh,
getting beat down in JoJo's, it gave me the patience and humility I needed. I needed to be bestowed because you really, in a lot of ways, you need to respect your opponent as you play them in a fighting game. It's a lot like, say, chess or tennis, You have to be very alert and attentive to your opponent's moves and nearly expect the best from them, uh, so that you can play your best against them.
It's really unfortunate that these types of games have very little replay value outside of one-on-one situations with other people. You
Yeah,
90% of your, or like, no, well, not 90%. I don't want to throw in stupid numbers. The vast majority of your time uh, will probably be playing against other people, and other than going in training mode, there isn't really much that you can do offline to really improve. But
yeah,
spending time there and grinding combos, grinding even just motions, inputs, and all that is really important. And patience will be extremely important there. And even more important will be humility towards your towards what you don't know. You need to understand that even if you think something, it may not be true. You may be getting the wrong impression. It's really all about trying to learn from other people, which is really easy when you just ask, but also learning when you play other people to not think, oh well, they're doing this, I don't know how to counter it, or that's unfair, that's all that. You should always think, uh, there's something I can do, and complaining about it is probably not the right thing. Even if something looks overpowered, maybe it is, maybe you're right, but crying and rage quitting, it's not gonna bring you anywhere other than to quit the game.
no, there's no there's no path to victory in rage quitting. You gotta you gotta really learn how to have fun through the work. So you
Mm-hmm.
gotta be not necessarily having fun in training mode, but almost, being okay with being in training mode. You need to be
Mm-hmm.
okay with doing your combos because you'll be spending a lot of time working on them there. Like
Yeah.
even when you have your B&B down 1,000 out of 1,000 times, you'll still probably be labbing new stuff, new scenarios that you can react to against certain opponents, and there's always more to learn. Like Minotaur, when you were starting off, like how much time do you think you were putting in like training mode proportional to game play?
Well, back in the day when I first started out, I spent roughly 0 seconds training of any kind.
Yeah,
That was a long time ago, like 4 years ago when I really didn't care about doing much since there were barely like 20 people in the lobby around that point. But when I decided at some point, hey, maybe I should try and actually practice combos. And well, usually I'd start practicing, let's say, I'd try to do a combo for maybe like half an hour or an hour when I'd really get out of control. And then I'd go over to try it out on Fightcade, and it worked about as well as you can imagine.
yeah, yeah,
So, proportionally speaking, there were days perhaps when I'd put more into training mode than I would into actually playing the game, and but later down the line, I decided that maybe it'd be better to get more actual experience fighting genuine people so that I can improve the neutral game and generally landing combos against human opponents than it would for me to sit there and keep trying a combo that I can probably get if I just stay calm and not mess something up.
like the
Mm-hmm.
DOBNB.
The DOBMB is a little different, you could say, but the Jotaro BMB, for example, is pretty fine, and I can get it semi-consistently in the training mode, but online I can get it maybe like half the time, and usually I get too excited for whatever reason, and I completely mess up the hyperhop part of the BMB. So
Yeah, that sucks.
yeah, but it's that kind of thing.
All right.
Yeah, once again, depending on what character you have, and how committed you are to the game, you'll uh, you'll ramp up your training mode time as you go on. Because it gets to the point where you realize just how important almost set play elements are. You know, getting your combos down consistently and knowing specific punishes. It's very
Yeah.
JoJo's is not very forgiving in either of those aspects. It's a very fast game, and there's basically no help with links. Like
Yeah.
if you there's a negative edge, and that's kind of it. That's kind of the limit of what they offer you.
Yeah, it's also kind of a double-edged sword most of the time. If you know what negative edge is, you'll understand. And also, I think that this is a perfect segue into where to find out all of this, because a
Well,
lot
you
of
might
times.
want to explain negative edge then.
Oh well,
A
yeah,
very
okay.
brief.
Very brief. Well, negative edge. Every time you press a button, there's the part where you press it, the part where you hold it, and the part where you release. Negative edge is when you release, the last part. So some games consider you releasing the button after holding it as you pressing the button, and it makes a ridiculous amount of situations much easier in fighting games in general, because suddenly you don't have to press the button twice in a really precise manner, but you can just simply press the button and then release it immediately after. So it makes it very easy. So
Yeah.
rather than doing the motion for I don't know, a Hadoken in Street Fighter by pressing the button twice, you can press the button that you want to use for a cancel, for example, and then hold it until you would have to then press it again and simply release it.
Yeah.
It's really intuitive.
But once again, if you're not very clean with your inputs, sometimes negative edge will make like specials come out accidentally.
Yes. While for example, where you're moving and after you press a button, and as you're moving to do something and you release the button, before you actually press the next one, you may end up with something else. For example, if you're trying to do, I don't know, a dashing attack into a like quarter circle motion, for example, for a tandem, and you press the wrong button, you end up with the wrong thing. Sorry, not press the button, not press the button fast enough, and you release the other one first, you end up with the wrong command.
Oh yeah, sorry. Once again, to mention, Eredal was not able to turn up. There was a difficulty with time zones and a few other unexpected occurrences. It's possible that he will turn up at the end of the stream, but don't hold out for him.
Yeah, we'll see later if Eredal makes it.
Yeah. What were we talking about there? The basic fighting game player.
Oh yes, we're explaining
Mechanics.
the basic mechanics of the fighting game players.
Sorry,
For
who's
fighting game
that
players.
that just joined the voice chat?
Yes, hello. I am back.
Oh, Eredal,
someone's
look
back.
Yes,
Oh.
it was way faster than I expected.
Would you mind introducing yourself to the stream?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm Eredal. I think like some people already know me. I've been in the server for about 4 months now, and playing for more or less the same amount.
All right, thanks for coming in, Eredal. We're going to be
Thanks
having
for having me.
like a proper almost interview with Eredal, let's say at the end of the stream, where he's going to give a bit of his personal connection to the game and what it meant for him as a new player getting better.
Oh yes.
But
Can I answer a message from Guru real quick?
yeah.
Tamale. All right, go ahead.
Yes, if there's any questions in chat and you think you have time to answer them, just go ahead. Especially if they're good questions.
I have not I don't have the stream open, so if you see any question aimed at me, could you please like tell me?
For example, Aizo Ito says, "Where is my regular?
Oh
Where is
yeah.
his regular?"
Tell him he needs to write a full page on the wiki for whatever character and make like a couple videos about it, and that's it.
Wow. All right. Yeah. That
Easy way
should.
to regular.
That's the way to regular. Yeah. Um.
Yeah, but I didn't want to interrupt, so
Oh yeah.
please
Yeah.
continue with what you were doing.
We're at a bit of a lull now. We're moving. I'd say we're moving on now from basic fighting game mechanics to another point we should make, because there's only so much we can cover if it, basic fighting game mechanics if this is your first fighting game, because you know uh, you're still new, you're still fresh, you don't want to be overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
uh, so I think something else we could go through with new players is, so they've picked their character now, or at least they're along the way to picking their character. They know what they should be looking out for. They have an idea of the general mechanics of the game, but now they're almost at the point where they need more information. They need to be getting more more resources on the game. Uh, so there are a lot of resources on this game at this point. It's it's almost becoming unmanageable to set them all up in a nice manner. But
Yeah.
your main sources for looking at resources, main sources for resources,
Yeah. Main places for looking up resources. Let's say.
yeah, uh, you know, would be, let's say, the wiki. The JoJo Ban wiki has been recently made. In the past, we only had the Stan Crash wiki and some like Hard Edge, which was not quite English friendly, let's say. Uh, but yes, Stan Crash is what I learned the game off of. It's been going a good few years now, but it's been going a good few years without any sort of update. So as new stuff was discovered about the game, it was unfortunately not being added to Stan Crash, which made it a little out of date. Which is why recently the community, spearheaded by Zareth and his mod team, came together and made a new updated wiki that is continuing to receive support from the current player base to this day. So it is still very new. It's a little rough around the edges. It's not quite unified in how it reads, because the it's every page is pretty much written by a different person, or maybe a person's written one or two pages. So there's a lot of different writing styles clashing that there hasn't been time to clean up yet. But there's still a lot of information to get on there. And if you are looking to start off on any character whatsoever, I would first highly recommend you check out their wiki page. After that, I'd say you'd be best to move on to the Discord, or the JoJo's weekly tournament Discord group is the largest current group for Heritage for the Future, and it's pretty much a hub for all sorts of players and what they offer, their resources. We'll be going a bit more into detail about the Discord and all all its drama, let's call it. But suffice to say, if you check out the frequently asked questions, new player guide, guides and training, heritage for the future questions, you're going to end up, almost overloaded with information. And even then, if there's still stuff you can't get, you can go ahead and ping people in there and ask them questions about your character or general stuff about the game, and they'll happily tell you anything. A lot of people, you have to tell them to shut up. They don't stop going on about the tiniest thing, and you're like, I just needed this small detail, please. But yeah, I'm talking about you, Bill. Uh, uh,
Very subtle.
very subtle, yeah. Uh, oh yeah, sorry. Another prime resource is the training mode. Uh, if you don't know, I made the current iteration of the training mode, and I'm looking to produce a sequel in future. So I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but when I say it's necessary for learning the game, it absolutely is. Uh,
Um, when can I ask something real quick?
yeah,
When did you plan to make that the second iteration?
when did I
Is there
plan?
like any date that you have in mind, or is that
Uh,
just something you plan to do in the future?
so I'm working on it very casually at the moment because I'm busy with university work, and I'll probably be busy with this show in future as well. But I'm steadily chipping away at it. The previous training mode I made in a flurry of about 8 days, 10 days, and in a lot of ways I felt it was rushed, and I just couldn't build on top of it. So I've really worked from the ground up this time. I'm starting from square one to make a much more robust system to build off of. So I could really take this time to be patient and thorough, because there already is a training mode. Even if, by my own admission, the current Lua training mode we have isn't the best, it's better than what we had in the past. See, what we had in the past was the good folks down at Stan Crash. They came through for us and they gave us cheats, game cheats. So essentially, you got plopped down in a match. They gave you unlimited meter. They gave you unlimited health. They gave you unlimited time. There you go. Go practice. So it was
Well,
it's very rudimentary, but it's still very usable.
can I can I
Yeah,
take a request from Isoito real quick?
I wasn't.
Uh, yeah, he asked me to tell all of you guys to watch the comprehensive palmodding video guide.
Oh no.
Oh wow! I wonder what is.
Shameless self-promotion.
That sounds like a mighty good offer, but can it beat Aleph amazing tutorial?
Yeah, we'll be talking about PAL modding with the Discord
It's a
anyway.
shame we don't have Aleph here with us right now. He'd be very, very useful.
Very useful.
Very
Uh,
insightful.
yeah, and I guess actually, just to come back onto the training mode, I guess before the that cheats training mode we had, I guess people just emulated like the PlayStation or Dreamcast version and just went at it there. You know,
How
it's less
how did
less
those?
ideal.
Sorry. When you say you were given cheats to like have unlimited meter and all that stuff, how exactly did they work? I mean, where would you, how would you use the cheats? I mean,
So
Oh,
yeah, it came in a
it's
package. Sorry, yeah, I've
yeah, no,
talked
no,
long enough. My voice
no.
is sore.
Oh, well, it's really easy. Like, all you need to get is the I remember the name of the extension of the file. Yeah, dot ini. The dot ini file for JoJo band. Uh, usually can find it in a pack with all with a bunch of other dot ini files that have cheats for most CPS one, CPS two, CPS three games, and Geo, SNK, and all that. And all you have to do is in the emulator on FBA, for example, you can just press Control and F1, and you'll be prompted with a menu with all the cheats that you can then enable and change their different settings. Usually, they're not translated very well, so sometimes you have to interpret what's going on. For example, in this Street Fighter 3 cheats that I have, infinite health is called unlimited physical, There's a lot of other this weird language that's used probably because it's been translated poorly, but the ones that are available for JoJo Ben I think are properly translated, so it should be easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Eredal, your mic is doing that weird feedback thing again.
All right, give me a second.
Yeah. So yeah, training mode. Training mode is very important, as we said. So I'm not going to go too much into the new training mode because Zarit actually produced a video on it. If you go on his channel and look up training mode, or it's also in the Discord, it's very prominent, visible in frequently asked questions and info or useful links. One of those useful channels that you should definitely check out. I might put a link up to it on stream as well. Is there anything else you'd like to mention on training mode, Mineotar?
Me? Well, no, except that I can say that I somewhat relate to that about emulating the PS1 version, since I think I tried that back a few years ago, and it was not pretty, let me tell you.
For preference, for context, I first tried out this game for the PlayStation 1 version. I tried the PlayStation 1 version out, so I was expecting a lot, because it had its own training mode and stuff like that. And then even though this is definitely a superior version of the game, it has not got a training mode just to match it, or it didn't at the time anyway. I'm hoping we can fix that as a community effort. Yeah, that's training mode. That's a good old spiel on training mode. If you want to learn about the features, when you either launch training mode, there'll be a selection in a little text box beside it, a listing of everything you can do, or it's also mentioned in Zarit's video there.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this moment to ask: is my mic alright, or is it doing the same thing?
I'm not hearing anything.
Is anyone else hearing anything?
Oh no, absolutely no, nothing.
All right, nice.
Okay, I think you're all right. So let's run through the perspective of a new player at this point. So by now you've got Fightcade running. You have an idea of the mechanics. You've picked your character. You've practiced combos a little. You're reading up on the game at the same time, asking players new questions. Or actually, another resource we should very, very quickly mention is the tier list. Okay, so in this game, tier lists, you have to be careful with tier lists because it can often turn out very controversial. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's a really picky subject, which I think we should just really briefly mention.
So right there, I have on the stream there is the wikis tier list. That's it's roughly what the community as a whole agrees on, inspired by SQ's tier list. SQ is a top Japanese JoJo's player. So as we can see here, the game, looking at this tier list here, you can very clearly see how the skew of the game. So you got a lot of mid-tier characters that are bullied by the higher tier characters. That's JoJo's as a whole, basically.
Yeah, that's a really unbalanced game.
Yeah.
You can kind of look at the worst matchup in the game to see how balanced the game is, and in this one it's really not happy since it's if you include Pet Shop, it's Pet Shop versus some characters that just get completely invalidated.
Yeah, Pet Shop is a very, very powerful character that makes people very mad. I've personally discovered. So
I wonder if someone made a video about Pet Shop being OP.
yeah, I wonder.
Very
But
subtle.
yeah, I have the matchup chart. Might be a little difficult to make out, but as you can see there, some matchups are extremely skewed. Like let's say you're playing Khan, right? And you happen to come across a Kakyoin. Oh, I guess you're losing 2-8. Um, oh look, you're Rubber Soul. You're having fun as Rubber Soul. Oh no, you came across an Abdul. Oh, sorry, bro.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Sorry.
Yeah,
You don't get to play.
you don't get to
It's the
play.
extent of that.
You get
Well,
more
lost a
tickets.
cure to select.
Yeah,
That's I think really the extent that you should be considering tier lists like this. Other than the matchup chart, other tier lists like the one on the right. Uh, at a low level, it's not not exactly too useful. It's more useful to look at the matchup chart or to look at other tier lists that have other parameters included within them.
yeah, yeah. You really have to you have to think of tier lists in a contextual sense, if you will.
Yes.
So when you're a new player, it doesn't matter if you play Mariah, you will beat that pet shop if you are both new players, you know, if you are the better player. Then naturally as you get to a more intermediate, more experienced level, you know, that pet shop is going to be pulling ahead. And then once you're both decent enough players, you know, it's going to feel unbearable. It's it's really almost a progression what you can expect them to come out looking like. Doesn't necessarily mean that every time you play Rubber Soul you lose to Pet Shop, but it does mean that you're a little more disposed to hating the matchup as you play the game.
Would you tell new players, or maybe not so new players, who happen to main like a bad character? Let's say, I don't know, maybe um, D and below or whatever. Would you recommend them to try and pick a secondary for those really like basically unwinnable matchups? Or would you tell them to focus their attention on only that character they have the most fun with?
As a new player, you should stick to one character, and I'll tell you why. It's because as a new player, there's only so much you can put into the game. Uh, you'll already be at 110% trying to learn one character, and to be honest, while you're a new player, you're going to be beaten by more experienced players, no matter what the matchup chart says. So maybe once you're a more intermediate player, you know, you've had say 150 hours in the game or whatever, and you really do not enjoy that Shadow Dio matchup, you might want to pick a counter to him, pick up a counter, and chances are you'll be able to pick up someone you like as well. That's another thing. If you pick up a secondary, it should be someone you like. Of course, there are some people that have pushed low tier characters to the absolute limit, like Pablo Torres. I'm gonna go ahead and name drop him. Famous for
Rest in
Oof.
peace, by the way.
This
rest in
track come.
peace. Yeah, famous, very famous for his Black Ball nerf. His high skill with a traditionally low skill, low payoff character. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna do something a little controversial, and I'm gonna show a secret chart in here.
Oh no.
It's leaked, leaked from. Oh, it doesn't fit completely. Uh, sorry, Bill, but we're gonna look at this a little bit. This is a this
Oh, I
is a
think I think
chart
I know
from
what you're
Bill,
talking about.
Mhm.
and this chart is interesting because it it's still a bit of a rough chart, but it really puts into perspective that there's different sorts of payoffs for different amounts of time and effort you've put into the game. So
Hmm.
you see down there, Shadow Dio, he's giving you a lot of bang for your buck. Devo, not so much. So me myself, a Shadow Dio player, when I fight Aleph Null, I'm bullying him with my lack of skill while still being better for it at the game as a whole. Yeah, it's a bit of a rough chart, but it does put
Yeah,
into perspective that a lot of the things in this game is not fair. They are not fair. Um,
yeah. You're gonna put a lot of effort for very 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 little payoff, and you'll be like, well, it's not worth playing this character. Character sucks.
but once again, the idea is if you enjoy your character, you'll play him.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but on that note of picking or new players or whatever, did you already talk about the commonly recommended like beginner picks as far as character goes?
Uh,
I don't think we should be mentioning that. Like,
we mentioned that there definitely are some, and they will help you learn the game, but I wouldn't say I'd like to influence the people and make them feel
Mm.
obliged. Pretty
mhm.
much anyone you talk to will they'll give you they'll tell you who they are. There's some of them are pretty obvious. Uh,
Yeah, but I was saying it more to those people that really like don't find anything or anyone they particularly like at first glance.
yeah,
So maybe they would have liked some recommendations. Obviously, not forcing them to play anyone, but just so they know, or maybe characters they should not pick up. Maybe that would be a better thing. I mean,
Um,
not that they should not, but at least they need to know what they are getting into. If that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. We've talked about that.
Oh, all right, all right.
It's really not a something that we should get into because it's also a controversial topic, and um, it ends up tying back into well, if I'm gonna be playing someone that's easy, I'm gonna be also choosing someone who's maybe higher tier. Maybe I want to play someone that's higher tier, but then I'm gonna avoid those characters specifically maybe because they're too hard. And
Mm.
influencing the choice in any way other than saying, well, these are the stronger characters and these are the easier characters. Make your own choice. It's rather than saying, well, this character has stupid easy execution, even though it doesn't really, you can really understand that from this chart. They'll understand that, and I think it's would rather leave the choice to new players because uh, it really isn't good influencing people like that because then it may end up hurting them in the long run. If you feel me,
Yeah, that's fair.
they may get stuck on a character. They may not like anybody else. They may really struggle to move on, evolve as a player, and stop relying on a character that carries them, for example.
yeah, I hate all
Yeah.
you Kakyoin players.
Subtle, subtle.
Yeah. Anyway, that's basically what we have to say on tier lists. Anyway, once again, pay attention to them as you gain more experience in the game. But basically, we're only putting them up here because a lot of the time new players will ask about them. They'll want to see the tier list. They'll want to digest the tier list. They'll want to get the most they can out of the tier list. But the thing is, when you're new, you're realistically not getting much. Uh, it might add like a bit more hype to I don't know, some gameplay you're watching between top players if you can see exactly how the matchup is laid out, giving you a bit of context. But from your own perspective of gameplay, there's only so much that's going to help you out, and that's not very much, to be honest. Yeah, tier lists, uh, they'll tell you how good a character is, but they won't tell you what it takes to get good with a character. or how you should go about getting good,
Mhm.
which I think is something that should be at least briefly mentioned, because a lot of the time they'll pick a character, they'll press their buttons in a game, and they don't go anywhere with them. There's been countless anybody who's been in the lobby before will have met that Dio player. You know the Dio player. They
Mhm.
they do road rollers. They do muda mudas. Sometimes they do
They do not do
teleports.
time stop,
They try to do time stop. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
but
Sometimes
they
they
don't do
try to teleport, but they forget they're in stand on.
yeah, yeah.
uh,
Yeah, you know the one. Don't be a Dio player. Don't be one of those Dio players.
Stinky. You want to be like that.
Be a Dio player who gets better at the game, like Mineotar.
Mhm.
And move on from Dio to a different character.
Yes.
Is that
Much
what
better
you're saying?
character.
Yeah.
Is this
There's
an
plenty.
anti-Dio
There's plenty.
campaign?
are we character shaming Minotaur or something?
No, 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 no. Plenty of fish in the sea. Plenty of other 21 other fishes in the sea.
If you like
Whoa there, whoa
Dio, there's always Shadow Dio. You know.
Man, I thought we were gonna not mention some things here. All right.
Okay, okay. Sorry about that.
Just to end on the note of tier lists. At a low level, they won't tell you anything. They'll just tell you who's really strong, who's easy, who's really weak, who's hard. At a slightly higher level, at a mid level, they'll be relatively useful, and most importantly, it becomes more useful to look at a matchup chart. And at a higher level, it's a whole bag of worms. It's completely different, and we really shouldn't be getting into that. So don't stress over them. I'd say even don't even look at them.
Yeah, yeah. Like the tier list, they'll give you a bit of an idea of what it takes to get good with your character. Like,
Mhm.
some characters they take a lot more training mode time than they would gameplay time. So for example, you're playing a character like I don't know, let's say Hall Horse. Let's say Hall Horse. He's not he's not extensively difficult in the execution department, but if you want to be leveraging your frankly weak zoning tools to their full advantage, you need to be getting that gameplay experience, which is where the Hall Horse flowchart comes from. Because more often than not, they've drilled into their heads. They know exactly what they should be doing in every scenario, because that's the kind of practice a Hall Horse player needs. Or and then if you compare that to let's say a Dio player, yeah, a Dio player, they need a high amount of practice in both the training mode and in game to make up for their high execution and sort of strange neutral, let's call it. I won't comment too much on it because if Zarith comes back and watches this video, he'll have my head. Uh,
Hazarth,
Perma ban from the stream, from the Discord.
say your funeral, peon.
yeah, yeah. So once again, you need to get these sort of points into perspective. You need to know. You need to have an idea of how long you should be training, like in proportion to playtime, and you need to be nearly methodical in how you carry out your games. So you're still having fun, but you're almost playing and practicing with a purpose. The purpose of getting better, of course. Once again, if you're new to fighting games as a whole, you'll also add a good chunk of time to getting good with a character. Like as a lesser example, me when I was learning Pet Shop, I originally picked up Pet Shop to learn my stick. I had just built my own stick and I did not know how to use it. Uh, me myself trying to play Shadow Deal and Khan, they were just not clicking on stick. I felt like I needed to learn a new character, but it turned out having to learn Pet Shop, a slightly more difficult character than average, along with a new control device, like exponentially increased the time it took me to learn the character. So there's lots of little points that you need to consider them all, add them up, and you'll get an idea of how long it takes to get good. But there's actually a concise, precise, always true answer for what it takes, how long it takes to get good, and that is how long it takes. I'm sorry to say, but to get good, it takes as long as it takes.
Yeah. You'll never like, and then you'll realize that you're good when you're good. You're not gonna be immediately. You it's harder to see when you're not great, where being good stands at. But as you get as your field of vision when it comes to everything that comes into play in a match, broadens, and once you start seeing, you start seeing things that you didn't see before, like how an opponent always does this in that situation. You start to uh, uh, become less fixated on specific things to do at specific times, and those things suddenly become second nature. You don't use much mental energy on things. You'll start putting that into other places, and that's part of how to become good. And there's really no guide on how to do that, on how to realize all these things. You just have to play, I guess. There's really nothing that can be done to help you that's easy and very understandable, and that can be put into words without leaving out a lot of things. It's not, all fluff. It's not all in your head. It's not that it can't be conceptualized. It's just that it comes with the territory. It comes with experience. So it really just takes as long as it takes. As much you need to practice active learning. More importantly, active watching. So when you're using your resources, for example, one of the most important ones, and I think I've got most of my experience through that, is watching videos of other people play, and looking at those. Once I stopped thinking about how to do combos and spend mental energy on neutral and all this. Sorry, not neutral. On looking intently at my opponent and trying to react for a thing. Once I started to simply have instincts for that. Whoops, sorry, yanked the earbuds out of my phone, out of my ears. Sorry. As I was saying, no, you start noticing more things, and you wonder, well, what do I do here? You start figuring out things for yourself, and then you start noticing those same situations, how they play out in the video, and that's very important. Something you need to learn to do. Active watching, specifically looking out for what players do in that situation, for what they don't do. Most importantly, that's gonna help you a lot. It got a long ways to making you a better player, and it's one of the ways many people learn about things that just are unspoken. Maybe they're not even on written down on the wiki, and they're not in any resource. Most things are like that, and you just have to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, believe it or
I think to echo a bit of the sentiment as Danny has expressed in the chat. Actually, I think resources are incredibly useful, but you shouldn't rely on things on too much on things that other people tell you. Figure things for yourself with experience.
Yeah, to add on to what you said, sometimes it can even feel like you're getting worse at the game while you're actually progressing. Now, a lot of people might feel insecure about how they're continuing in the game, how they're learning TED, but
Subtle.
You know, really, really, you just have to keep moving forward and making the best of it. Yeah, that's really it for getting good, I'd say.
If I could add like one last thing, because there's really not much that can be added at this point,
Yeah,
but I would say this might sound a bit like cliche and it's easy to say, but don't feel too discouraged if you think you're not like progressing as fast as you should. Like a lot of every people has like different periods of time they need to keep practicing or whatever in order to actually get better. It's basically do not do not feel stressed about that. Like to reiterate what we were saying about, it takes basically as long as it takes, but that period of time will vary from person to person. So if you, as long as you are actually interested and you want to put the time and effort, you will improve. Maybe faster than some other people, maybe slower, but point is that you should not feel too discouraged about that.
yeah,
Mhm,
yeah, exactly.
definitely. All right,
Uh,
then moving on. What we're going to talk about now.
I suppose we should move on. At this point, you're along the way to getting good, and maybe you want to connect a bit more to the people. So here we are on the juiciest, the most controversial segment. I have to say that I want to bring up on the new player thing.
No,
Uh,
no.
I'm sorry, but we
No,
have
no,
to.
no,
There's
no.
there's no escaping it. We have to talk about the Discord. Sorry, guys. The best and worst part of the JoJo's community. So
I'd say just the worst, honest. Oh no, no, right. The Fightcade chat is even worse. Sorry.
yeah, okay. First thing worth noting is that there's one very large Discord group, and that Discord group it's managed under Zarit, uh, who hosts the weekly tournaments that are on hiatus as we speak, and so that's naturally how a lot of people got into the game. That's where they hang out. That's where they learn about the game. If you want to find resources in the game, you'll uh, you'll get them there, right? But I want this to be a little more about let's call it surviving the Discord.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you have to realize that it's not it's not really a homogeneous community. There's very different types of people in there because of the fact that it's not just fighting game players that they're in there, but also people who simply got to know about it through JoJo's because they like the JoJo's franchise. They like the characters. The part maybe they just finished watching the show part 3 and they saw maybe in the various memes they saw sprites of characters and like, oh, there's a game of this. They look it up and they end up here.
Yeah. Generally, you get it. You get a few. You get a few different categories of people. If we could broadly, uh, box them. You get people who came in because they watched the show. You get people who came in because they heard about the show, or the game, from their favorite YouTuber, be that Joel or X Falchion.
Mm-hmm.
And you get people that somehow or other discovered the game on their own, and you get other people that have heard about the game while playing other fighting games and came to check it out. Naturally, the last group is in the minority. Uh, it's really, I guess, the best way to describe the server is sort of it's a hodgepodge.
Melting pot.
It's a melting pot. Yes, it's a melting pot of different perspectives, ideals, and uh, I guess goals people are striving towards in the game. Like a lot of people in there, they're satisfied with only having fun with the game. A lot of people they aim to be the best. Some other people they don't even play the game as much as they participate in the community. Some people don't even play the game, and some people
At
get
all.
banished to meme hell, where they will forever rot.
Probably just have fun with their kind.
Yeah, yeah, those sort of folks, we just pretend they don't exist on the other side of the fence.
We do not speak of that of their kind.
No, when you honestly, if you open JoJo meme hell, you'll see people you've never seen before.
A-
You
And you
won't
will
know
also
those
see
people.
very
It better
trash
stay
memes.
that way, really.
I don't want to know them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you'll meet a lot of different, but besides that, there's no guarantee about what anything is being spoken about. Like, you come on to general one day and people are talking about, I don't know, fast food chains, and
Like Applebee's.
yeah, and then another day you might come on and they're talking about more illicit activities. Not There is a general ban on NSFW and uh, a soft ban on politics and racism in the server, but people say what they want. Put it like
Yeah.
that.
If after we say all of this, it may come off we may come off as like talking about the community in a very negative way, because people come in there, they're maybe not even interested in the game. It may sound bad, but it's actually not. It's important to have an open mindset, and as long as you show interest in the game, as long as you're not annoying, you're constantly you know derailing the conversation, not adding to it in any way, or not even asking questions. Uh, at that point, you probably won't be welcome. But if you're a person that is genuinely interested, then you will be very very welcome. People will answer your questions genuinely. They'll be helpful, and the more you show up, the more you contribute. People will simply people will accept you. It's not uh, as toxic as some people say it is. It's not. It doesn't push people away. It's gotten a lot better over the amount of time that it's been active.
Yeah, you
And I
can.
Also,
think that and I think that simply being someone who wants to be present will gain you the respect of people. And they're recognized as someone who's not just someone worthy of being banished to meme hell.
I think like in general, as long as you behave like a decent human being, you will not have any real trouble fitting in.
Mm.
Like you don't need much. You just need to be like a normal person, and that's it.
The Discord
Normal
is,
person, eh?
yeah. There's not many normal people in there, but yeah,
I'm not including myself. I'm just saying.
yeah. The
Yeah,
Discord. Sorry.
yeah, but at least the human case studies, those are kind of dismissed. At least they're yeah. Yeah.
We all get
You
excited when we talk about the Discord. There's a lot to say. Maybe it'll probably end up getting its own episode in future. But suffice to say, it's one of the most unique communities you'll ever experience. Let's put it like this. And in lots of ways, it continuously evolves. Um, Recently, there's been a push to make new players feel more welcome, which some people, there's been some controversy around, to put it lightly. Uh, but really, at the end of the day, as long as you have the bravado to introduce yourself, to stand proud, to say, I want to do Dio's time stop, how do I do it, in questions, and somebody comes in and calls you an idiot for asking the same question everyone asks, and you come back the next day and you keep talking, you're golden.
You know, you
Unless
probably won't
you're
have any
planning
problems
to
unless you
again.
go and piss off the mods.
Or unless
Yeah.
you go back to the channel and you ask how to time stop a second time. We have a
Yes.
strict one time stop question policy per person.
Everyone gets a free question about how to time stop, but just one.
Yeah. And the mods, they'll break that if they want. The mods, they'll come down, they'll mute you, they'll send you to jail time if they feel a little peeved. Let's put it by how
Or maybe
you're.
you actually did nothing wrong and Potato still, for whatever reason, just to fuck around with you, sends you to jail time. Not like
Listen.
I can relate. I'm just like speaking in general, of course.
No. Listen, I myself have spent a fair amount of time in jail time, and a lot of people in. Okay, Elvarnison, how'd you time stop? Okay, you know what? We're gonna address this question once. Okay, only once. There are 3 characters with time stop abilities in this game. Okay, there's Jotaro, Dio, and Shadow Dio. Okay, Jotaro, his input is forward, medium punch, light punch, forward, then stand. If you do all of those in the right order quickly enough, you will, you'll do the stop time, okay?
Provided you have 3 meter,
With
etc.
3 meter, yeah. His time stop kind of sucks. Dio, similar motion to Jotaro, forward, heavy punch, light punch, forward, stand. Once again, 3 meters. His time stop, I don't know, it's a little better, I guess. Shadow Dio is, get this, light punch, forward, heavy punch, back, stand. It's just completely different, random. It only takes 2 meter, and it has no super flash. For I have no clue why. Uh, Maybe it's a lore thing or whatever. And you stop time. And if you are playing one of those characters versus another one who can stop time, so if your opponent stops time and you're frozen in time, and you have at least 1 meter, so even with only 1 or more meter, if you do your own time stop input, you can move in frozen time, and you get a small amount of iframes for stopping time in a time stop. And scaling is honestly horrible in time stop.
Yeah. In a nutshell, it's just, unless you're Shadow Dio, you probably shouldn't be doing it, and even then, really not that useful unless your opponent is slipping.
It's style only, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, we've gotten that out of the way. Nobody talk about time stop again, please. That's covered.
All right.
Yep. What were we talking about there? Lost my train of thought.
All right, now. Well, yeah, we're gonna. I think now it's probably time for Eredal to talk about his experience, because he wasn't here at the beginning, but we were gonna have him anyway because of that. I think he's the perfect person to speak about his experience. He's only been here for 4 months, as I understand. So, his point of view will be very, very similar to, he'll understand what new players go through, because he's relatively new. So he'll be able to help with that. So talk about a little bit about that. How did you come to know of the game, and what was your first impression and all that?
Yeah, so I knew about the game because I used to be a pretty big JoJo fanboy, which I think is something that almost every new player has been. I am still a fan, of course, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. So I had a WhatsApp group chat with a couple of friends who are also JoJo fans, and we were talking about JoJo fighting games, stuff like Eyes of Heaven or All Star Battle or whatever. And we were basically shitting on those games pretty much. And at one point, out of nowhere, one of my friends sends a clip and that was basically Vanilla Ice using his like million kick supers against Iggy. And I don't know, I actually find that hilarious. And you could see, and I got actually charmed by the game because you could see it was an old arcade game, like reminded me of stuff like Street Fighter or whatever, but it still looked really nice actually. And so I asked him about it, and he said, "Yeah, there's this like 20-year-old whatever years old game. It's an arcade game. There's a platform called Fightcade where you can play online with other people. And with a USB, we basically copied his Fightcade folder into my computer, and that's how I got the game running perfectly. I didn't even need to watch American's video, by the way. Um, so sorry about that. But yeah, I got the game running. Everything was good, and yeah, the first thing I saw was the intro because my friend told me that I should really watch. And actually, to this day, I think it's a pretty cool intro, and that was enough to actually spark my interest in the game. As far as, do you want me like to keep talking, or do you want to ask
Yeah,
me
no,
like
no, no. It's fine. It's
questions
fine.
so that I can like structure my thoughts better or
Yeah,
something like
have
that?
you seen the Venture intro? JoJo's
Yes,
Venture.
and I think that's better than the Heritage for the Future, honestly.
Oh, it's so good, man.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
Yeah, so that's
So
that's how you got into the game, was it? You got in through a friend.
yeah,
Yeah. Um. So I take it like you probably stuck around your friend group playing the game for a bit, right? You kind of.
not not really. I actually played on my own most of the time because my friend played on keyboard as well. He was the other person in the group besides me at that point who played the game. We tried playing like a couple times, both on the same keyboard, but it was absolute trash. So we decided to not play anymore. Maybe online if we can.
Okay. Okay, so that's how you sort of got into playing randomos on Fightcade.
Yeah, pretty much.
And from there, how did you sort of get connected into the game's community?
Well, I I before I joined the community and before I started playing online, I spent I think a good like a week, maybe 2 weeks playing offline on my own, like against the story mode, challenger mode, whatever. And I remember having a bit of not trouble, but I tried a couple of characters as a new player coming from the anime and the manga. Obviously, the one character I needed to try was Dio.
Of course, Dio, yeah.
Yeah.
And I played him a bit. Is Minotaur doing something with his mic?
Minotaur,
Mineotar, there's
he's
a
trying
lot
to
of
play
feedback.
Turbo Folk in the background.
What turbo folk? I have no idea what you're talking. They both don't exist. It's a myth.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
we're hearing a lot of noise though.
yeah, but no, not anymore.
All right.
So I started like picking Dio a bit. I actually thought I was really good at him. Of course, I completely sucked, but I had no idea. I had no way to know that because I didn't know like his combos or his BNB. Didn't even know what a BNB was because this is my first serious fighting game, and I was doing like very dumb stuff like 5A, 5A, and the Muda special. And I thought,
Nice.
oh man, I'm really really good at this character. Oh my, but
Mineotar,
Oh my god.
hello.
oh my god.
Excuse me?
Please.
You're making a lot of noise, man.
I wouldn't know what that's from. I'm not doing anything that I
Yeah, it's,
wasn't
it's
doing an
probably
hour ago.
feedback from the mic. It's just the mic being stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
try to
my
keep it to
god.
a minimum.
Oh no. All right. Yeah, you should probably mute yourself. It's really, really aggravating now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah, I was playing Dio, but like he didn't really click with me. So looking like another time at the character select screen, I noticed like Chaka was there. I had honestly no idea why he was in the game because he basically did nothing important in the anime, like one episode and that's it, basically. But usually on these kind of games, I'm always drawn towards the sword guy, kinda. So I picked him, I tried him out, and I thought he was really, really cool. And like all of his attacks, both stand on, like the way he super quickly draws his sword and then he immediately shoots him, like this, like Yaito style or whatever, as
Hmm.
well as the stand on chains, basic stuff like 5A, 5B, 5C. I thought that looked really cool. And I think mostly his supers were what I found the coolest about him. And to this day, I still think his supers are among the coolest in the whole game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Cut the screen in half. How cool is
Yeah,
that?
that was really really cool, and it still is. So yeah, that's how I picked Chaka, and I realized he actually clicked with me, and I felt way more comfortable with him than I felt with Dio or whatever. Granted, I still wasn't good at the game, but I knew some basic stuff. Like I discovered some things on my own, like how you can cancel, I don't know, stand on 5A, 5B into Rekka or into supers, right? It was obviously very unoptimized stuff and all that, but it was enough to get me through. So then I started playing after what couple weeks. I started playing online. I started challenging people at random on Fightcade. Most of them were randoms. Didn't come across with a I didn't come across a really good player at that time yet, and I was actually doing pretty well. I was beating totally new players, which meant I was slightly better than a completely new player. So that was enough to make me happy.
Hmm.
And the way I got into the community was I saw in the Fightcade lobby someone talking about a Discord server. So I asked. I didn't ask that day. I don't remember why. But the next day, I came back to the Fightcade lobby and I asked if someone knew or if someone had the link to the Discord server. And actually, Tex Western replied and he sent a link, but it was basically a bamboozle link to his fucking whatever server. It wasn't like the actual
Yeah.
the actual server.
Baited.
That's
So
funny.
I was there. I think like only 5 or 6 people at that time were in the server, and it was a dead server. Like nothing was going on really. And I decided like to get out of there. And I think I asked something along the lines of, "Does anyone have the link for the non-text Western Heritage for the Future Discord server?" or something like that. And I forgot who posted the link, but someone did. And yeah, that's how I joined. Um, that's how I got into the server. The actual first thing I did, and I'm very proud of this, judging how many people do not do that, was reading every single important channel at that time.
Oh yeah, you're a
Yeah,
saint, really.
yeah.
Uh,
I wish more
Nobody does.
people do. Like for instance, I through the FAQ channel, which is I think the most underrated out of the important channels, I learned a lot. I learned like about the role system, how it worked. I learned about pal modding, for instance, and I think that was about the only things I learned because other frequently asked questions were about like booting up the game and launching the game and whatever. But I didn't need that because I could already play. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got into the server and how I started like my journey or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. And but why did you feel motivated to get good?
So first of all, I this is a game I had a a ton of fun with. I thought it was very neat. I had previously tried to get into fighting games, but for one reason or another, I just couldn't bring myself to stick around. Maybe the difference, well, definitely the difference with this game is that it's JoJo related. So at the very least, it was like another medium to ingest more JoJo's, or at least that was my thought process at that time. And I saw the I saw how people talked in the server. I saw the role system, and what I thought was that, at least to me, it looked like a very competitive environment, but in a healthy way. Like, you would see a lot of people trying to, or like striving to get good. Uh, People who were already um, deemed good enough. I don't know, like regulars, for instance, actually helping other people. Uh, I thought it was a really nice place overall, and that's basically what motivated me to get good, was trying to make a name of myself, if that makes sense. Like, I really wanted to be a part of that community, like a big part of the community, but I realized the maybe not the only way, but the best way to do that was getting good and getting acknowledged, maybe because of my knowledge, like abstract knowledge, maybe, or about my actual in-game skills or whatever. Point is, I wanted to get good because I felt I would have an easier time fitting in the community and being like an actual part of it, because I really liked how it looked.
Okay.
Hmm. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, here's an interesting question. Did you find it difficult to sort of break into the community, to become a part of the community? So was there any sort of, I don't know, tensions or walls people might have put up that made it hard for you to get in?
There definitely was one, I want to say, big accident, which was when I joined, the old rule system was present. So that means Rule 7 still existed. Rest in peace, by the way.
Hmm.
So I I saw a lot of people asking questions, and some other guy would answer. And I would see at least one person, usually more than one, kinda like preaching about Rule 7, as if completely dismissing the other guy's opinion or answer. Granted, at that time, since I didn't really know anything about the game, I couldn't know if the person who was replying was actually wrong and should actually stick to Rule 7. But in my case, what happened was someone was asking what character they should play. At that point, I had been around for long enough, so like a week, to know what people usually recommend for beginner character picks. So I said something like, I don't know if I mentioned those characters, but my answer was basically, you should play who you have fun with. And yes, that's like a very cliche answer. That's a very easy answer, like non-committal answer. But it's not something that is objectively wrong either. I think it's very objective. Like, no one can tell you that it's wrong to play who you think you have fun with. And there was one guy who I won't name because I don't want to name call, but he actually got really angry at me because he basically told me, you should have read Rule 7, you should not speak. Well, maybe it wasn't that harsh, but it did feel really, really bad for me because I was trying to be helpful with something that I don't think you can actually say is wrong. It's not like someone was saying, how do I time stop with Dio? And I gave him a wrong input, right? So that actually felt really bad to me, so much so that after he finished arguing with me about how I should have, at the very least, named the recommended picks, I went into a DM with him, like I DM'd him because I didn't really want to live like that because I didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it was. I admit, like maybe I wasn't the wrong, yet, but I didn't think it was the way he acted was warranted either. So thankfully we sorted it out. We are friends now, or at least we are on good terms. So nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I think that's the biggest wall people will face, I think, because I had no trouble talking in the server about stuff that wasn't really gameplay related or like deeply gameplay related. So I would not have any issues talking about, oh man, this character is really fun. But I had to wait a really long time to get comfortable enough to actually try to give some form of advice, as small as it may be, mainly because of fear of getting called out by someone else and like telling me to go read Rule 7 in like the usual derogative way people used to do. Like you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I think it's very easy to start talking in the server, but at least to me, the hardest part was getting comfortable enough to give advice and all that stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I share with you. It was really it wasn't a great environment at the time to at least start talking after you haven't been there. For me, it was at least I haven't been there for a while, and only after I started helping with the wiki did I feel more confident in actually trying to help people. Because I
Hmm.
made the breakthrough you talk about. I actually started being more involved after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest wall.
Yeah, Eredal, you're sort of known. You're nearly known for being one of the fastest regulars. You know, one of the people who got regulars the fastest out of anyone. Could you talk a little bit about how you got regular?
Oh wow. Yes, but it's like a. I mean, we were we jumped from I just started to I got regular. So well,
Well,
I mean, if you don't mind me like talking a bit more about everything that was in between, or do you want me like to get straight to the point?
well, if there's a good story to it.
Well, yes. I mean, shouldn't we talk about how I tried to get good in the first place and all that? I mean, it kind of did because
Yeah,
Sure,
I
yeah.
think you should shorten it a little bit because we're getting close to 2 hours and a half here.
yeah. Okay. So the short story basically was I s- when I was playing online, I played a lot of randoms, but then I came across two people who are basically my best friends in the server, which are Midnight. That was my actual first friend that I made in the server. Uh, I also consider him my rival, honestly, in the sense of like not in a cheesy way, but in the sense that he's someone I have played with a ton. Uh, we ended up being more or less on the equal skill level, so games were thing, and we were always helping each other improve. And he's been a really friend. And the other one is Tavin, the Brazilian tier whore. But yeah, he's also a really good friend. I do not consider him like a rival in the same sense as Midnight because I think Tavin is way better than I am. So that's the biggest difference. But he has helped me improve a ton as well. And I think if it weren't for those two people, I wouldn't have stuck in the community because they were the first guys that I felt attached to, and like by proxy, I felt attached to the community. By playing them over and over, like slowly but surely, I would become a bit more better. More better. I would become better. I would get more comfortable with my character. And at one point, I started asking around to see if there were any other Chaka players that I could watch replays of or that I could ask stuff from. So I came across the names of Ultra Zoop and Professor Deca, who are like the other two Chaka regulars right now. And they are, I think, if Midnight and Tavin are the biggest reason of why I stuck with the community and try to invest my time in it, I think Zoop and Deca are the biggest reasons why I even got where I am today as far as skill goes.
Wow,
Because they
wow, what
really
a shout out.
because they actually help a really, really, really big in a really big way. Zoop helped me because I would send him replays about my own games to see if he would want to watch it and like kind of critique them. And he did, not always, but he did. And he would always send me some of his replays so that I could study them or at the very least see what he does that I do not and that I should change. He would also like just give me advice. The biggest thing he did, for instance, was telling me how important standoff for Chaka is. Like I would be your average perma stand-on brainlet before he told me to change that. And then Deca, Professor Deca would give more textual advice and he would bear with me a little bit because I would actually bother him a lot of times about asking him questions like, what should I do here? What should I do there? Anything of that sort, as well as sending him replays and him sending me some replays back. So yeah, those like I don't want to use cheesy terms like mentors or whatever, but they are two people I really look up to because they are what helped me actually become good in the first place. So before I got regular, I got helper and helper first because I realized at one point that the Chaka's wiki page was a bit rough because it was a copy paste from what I was told from StanQuest. And I thought it was lacking in some departments. I didn't wanna like try to sound pretentious, trying to say that I could fix that. But what I did was I made a Word document and I like about 4 or 5 pages, something, and I sent it to Zoop so that he would check it and say and he would tell me if it was all right. He said he actually liked it and like most of the stuff was actually accurate and was correct. And I got basically redirected to Potato, who gave me wiki perms for Chaka's page. So I basically rewrote a ton of stuff. Some of it Potato would later rewrote it himself to fit more like the structure of the wiki, so with the correct notation and whatever. But at that point, I think very similar to what Simon said before. That was the turning point for me, like the big turning point where I actually got really confident in myself because I thought, all right, well, like I've reached a point where people have acknowledged me enough to let me write like almost an entire page of set character. That must mean I'm at the very least capable of giving some form of advice to other people. And from there, it would just be me trying to keep playing, grinding, always asking for advice, always watching replays, either from Zoop or Deck or whatever. And I mean, like that's the super short story, right? So at one point, I was talking with Potato on his stream, his Final Fantasy 12 stream, and I don't really know how we got there. But I was talking about what we were talking about regular, and basically he said something like, yeah, now that I think about it, I think you should really be a regular, which is that's not something I was expecting, like to be. I mean, I would I wanted to try to get regular 2019, but not like in February 2019 or whenever it was. And I jokingly asked him then, well, if you say that, shouldn't you give me regular? And he did. Like I don't wanna
God damn
try
it,
to make it
potato.
seem as if it was like me begging and me like sucking his dick or whatever for regular.
He's just
But
dropping the regular.
Yeah. Regulars for
but
free. What's this?
but yeah, I think like based on what I wrote in the week, the two videos I made, like the Gore cancel video and the stand cry setups video, me talking constantly with Potato about Chaka stuff, like maybe I don't know stuff he could do with his task or whatever. Like he basically came to acknowledge me as an actual Chaka player, and well, that's how we got here, and I'm actually really really happy. It's not something I'm realistically expecting to happen this soon, but I'm definitely not complaining about it.
Okay, okay, that's an interesting way to get regular. I'll give you that. But I suppose before we wrap it up, is there anything you want to say to other new players?
Mm. Yeah, so first of all, read the important channels, like every single one of them. As you said before, it might be a bit like don't, because there's a lot of stuff, but all of that is useful, so you should definitely read it. Uh, do not be afraid to talk with other people and like just try to be there. If anything, it's as long as you do not do anything stupid and you just talk in the server and or active, people will start getting to know you and will start like getting used to you, and you will at the same time get used to the community. And I think that will ease you a bit if you are having trouble, like trying to speak up or whatever. The only thing is, if you try to give advice, like obviously you mean it in a good way. No one tries to actually give out bad advice on purpose. But if you get called out, I say call out, but if someone like respectfully tells you that that's not a correct advice, maybe try to keep playing a bit more before giving more advice. Because even if you think something is true, if you have like very little playtime, it's likely it's not actually true, and some other people will know better. Which is not to say you should never speak and feel discouraged, but just don't take it too harshly if someone tells you that what you're saying is not correct, basically. And last thing, because I need to be cliche, I would say have fun with the game, honestly, because no one will. You don't need to be like you don't need to force yourself to play the game if you don't really have fun with it.
Sorry, Eredal, no one has fun playing this game anymore.
Yeah.
You can ask Mineotar. He's probably
Oh,
screaming bloody rage right now behind his muted mic.
Yeah.
oh
But
man.
yeah,
I just like to add like a small part of what a small thing we're gonna talk about, which is really about why you should keep playing the game, or why you should have, like Eredal said, first of all, fun with the game, but second, I think it's uh, healthy to have a somewhat competitive spirit while playing the game or looking at the game in general, because and this is for new fighting game players especially. People will say, "Well, I really don't know why I should be playing this, thinking, oh, I need to win. I just want to have fun." If you end up only thinking about that and never graduate from being a battle masher, all you're gonna do is burn out, because you're never gonna have fun, because people will just destroy you and you'll never win, and that's no fun, really. Uh, and to not get burned out so easily, you should at the very least try to get better all the time. Always try to learn. Always do something to improve. Never just play passively. Well, never. Try to play while having an objective, something to improve as much as possible. Because otherwise, all that will happen is that uh, you'll stop having fun really quickly. Remember that this is a kusoge. This is a really just honest a shit game. Even if things are very unfair, and again, getting mad about it won't do anything. And even if Fightcade sucks, it's all you have. Uh, it doesn't have input lag. You can be happy about that. And most importantly, if you're not a person that can trying to improve, then I think fighting games in general just aren't the type of genre for you, because most of what you're going to be doing is losing and learning from other people. And if you can't find the fun in that, if you can find at least some fun in that, then you're probably not going to have a good time. But as long as you do that, as long as you keep that competitive spirit, even a little bit, just a little bit, you will end up uh, you'll end up having a good time regardless. Even if if you don't get good, even if you improve very slowly, because these games at their core, they're about being competitive. They're about winning over the opponent.
Can I
And
add like
players that are dedicated to it end up growing one way or another.
can I add like one really really quick thing? What you said.
Yeah, of course.
As we said before, yes, you should try to discover stuff on your own and like work on your own a bit. But there's only so much you will be able to do by yourself.
Yes.
So I would say there is no shame, and you have no reason to not ask better players for advice. I think that's because whoever you play, there will at least be one person who plays that character like way better than you, and who will be able to give you advice. And I think that's gonna help you improve a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks for that, Simon. Thanks for that, Eredal. Um, we're probably going to end up finishing up the stream here. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Big, big thank you to everyone on the couch with me. You guys did a great job. I hope any sort of new players that made it up to this point, they got something out of the game. I know that a lot of the more experienced players that decide to tune in just for the hell of it to see what was going on ended dropping off because it's not an interesting topic when you're experienced in the game, but I still feel like it was something that needed to be explored. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. If you're watching this through the VOD, thanks for checking out the VOD, and we'll catch this hosting team later. See you,
Yeah.
Eredal.
We're
See you,
sorry if
Simon.
it was a little confused, a little here and there, but this is just the start.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just happy I was able to like do the thing I needed to do fast enough that I could get hidden here in time, because I was really looking forward to it. So yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Pion.
No bother, man. No bother. I'll see you. Bye.
See ya.
All right, folks. Here we are. End of the stream. So I just want to say now that this did run a little overtime, about half an hour overtime, because we had Eredal on stream there, and we wanted him to give his personal connection, which I felt was very important for new players. If I want them to check out even one thing from this, even the last 30 minutes with Eredal there. In regards to the future of this, uh, we're going to move to a Saturday time slot. There is going to be It'll be near enough to the time of the weeklies because I want the people from the Americas to be a bit more mindful of them, because this is honestly not a great time for them. Um, we'll have a new couch next week. Every week we'll be getting a new set of people to talk. And next week is probably going to be something like be something along the lines of gameplay. There'll definitely be more of a focus on gameplay. It'll probably be your first tips for gameplay, or uh, something along the lines of reading neutral. I know some people have been interested in that, so I want to get that going. And once again, I want to say that everything we talked about in this. We skimmed over a lot of stuff like stinkos. Stinkos are a big part of being new, and all sorts of stuff like that. And the things that we did manage to talk about, that we did find the time to talk about, we did not go nearly in depth as we could have. So thanks for tuning in, folks. You'll see us next week on a Saturday with a new couch and at a better time, hopefully, with a better, more interesting topic. All right. I will catch yous on the VOD.
Game over.
Wait! All Kensei does is lag. He sucks at the game.